My brother once served as a royal guard to Prince Leon Shen, the fifth prince of the empire. When the rebels besieged the capital, he carried out a secret order, one that would alter the course of our lives forever. He was to rescue 12-year-old Princess Aurora, the emperor's beloved daughter. The princess had been born into silk and gold. She'd never known fear or hunger or mud on her shoes. And she couldn't stand the sight of me, Claire Shu, the commoner forced to keep her alive. For 3 long years I taught her how to read, how to write, how to survive. A bamboo switch in hand, patience worn thin, until the spoiled girl turned into someone strong enough to face the world. When Prince Leon finally reclaimed his throne and the empire rose from ashes, the princess tugged on my sleeve with a mischievous smile. "You have to come back with me," she said softly, "and become my sister-in-law." I froze. What? Chapter 1. I was 15 when my brother brought Princess Aurora out of the chaos. He was covered in blood. His hands trembled as he shut the door and laid the girl on a wooden bed. She looked very young, dressed in a maid's plain robe, yet her face was breathtaking, as if drawn from a painting. I had seen her before, the most beloved jewel of the palace. She had been raised among gold and silk. The one time she saw me at the embroidery shop in the southern quarter, she wrinkled her nose. "Brother Shu, this is your sister? Why is she sewing for commoners in such a tiny place?" My brother's voice rasped. "Claire, Chang'an is falling. We have to run. To Yongja." Yongja was 1,000 miles away. Outside, the sound of clashing blades filled the night. Metal rang against metal. Blood spattered across the paper window, blurring my vision. I didn't cry. I just listened and obeyed. With my still childish hands, I lifted Princess Aurora onto my back and nodded to my brother. "Okay, let's go, brother." He turned once, fingers tightening around his sword. The steady, bright-eyed youth I knew looked suddenly older, darker. "Hold her tight," he said. "I will." He led the way through a hidden path out of the city, blade never leaving his hand. After a while, my arms burned from carrying her. "Brother, I can't keep this up. Can't we just go without her? Why bring dead weight when our lives were at stake?" He snapped. "Claire Zhu." Her brother trusted me, saved me, and now he entrusts her life to my care. Even if I had to abandon you, I couldn't abandon her. My breath caught. I wanted to ask which of us was really his sister, but the road behind was red with blood and the one ahead uncertain. I swallowed the words. "I'm sorry, I'll keep going," I whispered. "Let's go, brother, please." His shoulders went rigid, then he nodded. "Good." By some miracle, we made it to Dingyuan. The fifth prince adored his sister. Whatever potion he had given her kept her asleep for half a month straight. Each day she woke for only half an hour to eat, then drifted back into peaceful dreams, untouched by hunger, dust, or fear. Meanwhile, I wore through 3 pairs of shoes and lost so much weight my clothes hung loose. By the time I needed a 4th pair, my brother's coin pouch was nearly empty. The capital had already fallen. Power now lay in the hands of Duke Rowan Zhao, an ambitious warlord who brought ruin wherever he ruled. People starved. The air itself felt heavy with despair. I sighed, pulled a jade pendant from my pocket, and walked toward a pawnshop. My brother frowned and stepped in front of me, blocking my path. "That pendant." 2 years earlier, when we met the 5th prince by chance, he had noticed me admiring it and laughed. "It's nothing rare," he'd said, tossing it to me. "If your sister likes it, she can have it." Now I'd carried that token all the way from Chang'an to Dingyuan, still 100 miles from Yongjia, just to sell it. My brother's voice sharpened. "It was a royal gift. You can't let it end up in some pawn shop." I smiled faintly and nodded toward the carriage. "Then let his sister use it. Isn't that what's right? She hasn't eaten well in weeks." His anger faded to silence. He stepped aside. When Princess Aurora woke again, ready to complain about the plain meal before her, her eyes lit up. "At least you're good for something," she sniffed, chin high as ever. My brother went out to gather news, leaving just the princess and me. I sat first, took a few bites, then told her calmly, "You've fallen from grace now. Eat what you're given. No more acting like a royal." She pointed at me, trembling. You, my brother will have you executed." I picked up the switch lying beside the bed and twirled it. "Then we'll see who kills whom first." She made a small noise and went silent. I ignored her and stepped outside with a leftover bun, too hungry to care for dignity. By the end of the month, we finally reached Yongjia. After being trapped in the carriage so long, even the proud princess sighed in relief. As she stepped down, she tugged my sleeve. "Use this," she said, handing me a golden hairpin. "Rent a decent house. I can't stand shabby places." I knew what she meant, our small old rooms in Chang'an. My brother started to refuse, but I had already taken the hairpin. "All right." The day we rented the house, word came from Chang'an. The royal family had been executed, all but one, the missing Princess Aurora. When she heard, she locked herself in her room and cried for a whole day. When she came out, my brother was waiting outside, voice low and gentle. "Don't cry, Your Highness, I'm here." Years ago, when the Shu family was wrongly accused and destroyed, he and I had survived only because the fifth prince sheltered him, cleared our name, and gave us a home. Now the world had turned upside down. But in some cruel way, it felt the same again. After that, the princess was no longer a princess. To avoid suspicion, she wore coarse cloth and called my brother brother just as I did. It made him blush, an upright man embarrassed before a 12-year-old girl. Her eyes were still swollen from crying. "It's settled then. You two may leave me now, I'm going to sleep." Still spoiled, but at least alive again. Outside her room, my brother said quietly, "There are only 2 rooms here. One for each of you. I'll find a job tomorrow and sleep on the roof." He had slept under open skies before, when guarding the prince. "No," I said. He ruffled my hair. "You've grown stronger these days. But it's fine, Claire. Let me do this." I frowned. "Why should you have no room? I'll share with her." His face darkened. "You can't. I cut him off with a bitter smile. "Brother, are you a lord or a rich man? How long can you protect her from the world? What happens when someone recognizes her? If she's lucky, she'll be sold to a brothel. If not, she'll lose her head." The slap came fast, stinging across my cheek. He trembled, hands still raised, the same way he had when he first carried her out of the siege. But after that night, he stopped treating Aurora as something fragile. He even let her do small chores, pouring tea, fetching things. And I began sharing a room with her. At first she couldn't sleep with someone beside her. Each night she rolled toward me, crowding me off the narrow bed. In the snow, I lay awake till dawn. Eventually, I lost patience. When she rolled over again, I pulled her upright and made her red with me. She flared up. "Claire Sue, have you lost your mind?" I ignored her, pointing at a line on the page. "What does this sentence mean?" Her eyes went blank. Of course, the rumors were true. Princess Aurora couldn't read. After a while, she sneered, "You're just a seamstress. Why bother with books and drag me with you?" "Knowledge never hurts," I said softly. Then, after a pause, "I was born to a family of scholars once, Aurora." She blinked, as if remembering for the first time that I had noble blood too. Before misfortune left only me and my brother. He and Prince Leon had known each other since youth, more than master and servant. That's why the prince had trusted him with his sister. I wasn't always the girl stitching for coins in a cramped shop. Aurora's tone softened. "Fine, I don't understand. You can tell me." In Yongjia, the local governor was hiring guards. My brother, skilled with a blade, was chosen at once. I found work at a nearby embroidery house. My stitches were neat. Madame Zhang, the owner, quickly grew fond of me and called me Sister Claire. Life almost felt normal again. Every evening after work, I waited outside the governor's mansion for my brother. We'd walk home together. He stood tall and handsome among the other guards, impossible to miss. His closest friend there was Ethan Fang, the governor's nephew. The governor, tired of Ethan's idle ways, had sent him to learn discipline with the guards before shipping him off to the army. When Ethan saw me, he tugged my brother over. "Sister Claire, you're here." I nodded politely. He scratched his nose, glanced at my brother, then blurted, "The flower festival's in 2 days. Would you like to see the lanterns?" I froze. My brother's face hardened. He pulled me away at once. "Lanterns? You'll only get scolded again." He didn't speak the whole way home, walking too fast for me to keep up. At our door he finally said, "Don't wait for me after work anymore. Spend more time with Aurora." I had been planning to anyway. "She's bored shut indoors. I'll start teaching her to read tomorrow." He frowned. "But Father always said I had a talent for words," I interrupted. "Trust me, brother." Then I smiled. "But really, are you still afraid someone will steal me away?" I was 15, of marrying age. He swallowed hard. "None of those boys deserve my sister." It had been a long time since he'd spoken to me like that. My brother threw himself into work with fierce determination, earning a fair sum each month, though never enough to call himself rich. Aurora resisted me at first, always picking fights. I kept the switch nearby. When she refused to study, or failed on purpose, I'd give her a light tap. Never cruel, just enough to sting. Tears can be powerful weapons. When I cried in anger, she'd fall quiet, uneasy. Eventually, maybe from boredom, she began to obey. Sometimes we even read storybooks together by candlelight. Madame Zhang, who was educated herself, often discussed lessons with me before I taught them to Aurora. She once asked, "Why has your little sister never shown her face outside?" "She's shy," I said. Madame Zhang sighed. "Lucky girl to have such a good elder sister." I said nothing. I wasn't her sister. Even my brother didn't dare let her call him brother in public. Aurora's real sister was Princess Vivian, famed for her beauty and courage, killed in the palace uprising, clawing at rebels with a jeweled pin. Her real brother was Prince Leon Shen, the scholar-warrior genius who once lit up the empire. But such men die young. Maybe that's why one night I dreamed of him. It was spring again. I stood in my shop, choosing fabric, when he rode by on horseback. He stopped, smiled and nodded. "Miss Shu." I woke with tears on my face. Aurora stirred beside me. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I whispered, wiping my cheeks. After a while, thinking I'd fallen asleep, she murmured, "If my brother were still alive, and he married you, that wouldn't be so bad." My heart skipped a beat. Everyone had known the princess once meddled in all her brother's betrothals, ruining every match he made. Chapter 2. After that night, Aurora grew closer to me. She even learned embroidery. One afternoon, while wandering outside, she was recognized by a former rebel. I happened to be nearby. I grabbed her hand and we ran through half the city, finally hiding inside a dry well. The water rose to our lips before it was safe to climb out again, her face white as paper. My brother arrived just in time and killed the pursuer. Aurora was shaken. Later, blushing awkwardly, she thanked me. From then on, she rarely left the house. Her days filled with reading and stitching, her temper softened. A year passed. She blossomed. Bright as morning sunlight, graceful as a lotus. Under the governor's favor, my brother earned a place in the army alongside Ethan Fang. Before leaving, he reminded me again and again to take care of Aurora, pressing 100 taels of silver into my hands, the money he'd borrowed. At dawn, I saw him off, eyes wet. "Brother," I said quietly, "back on that blood-soaked road from Chang'an, you swore you'd save Aurora even if it meant losing me. I resented you for that. But now I swear on my life, I'll protect her for you." He laughed, mounted his horse. "Good." As he raised his whip, another horse thundered up. Aurora came running, veil half-slipped, breathless. "Brother?" He froze. "Yes?" She smiled, handing him a small bundle. "Take care on the road." He stared at her for a long moment before taking it. I remembered the night he'd stood outside her door, whispering, "I am here, Your Highness." Ethan seized the moment to whisper to me, "Wait for me too, okay? I'll be back soon." I smiled. "Then hurry back." After my brother left, I used his silver and Madame Zhang's help to open my own embroidery house. I was 18 then. People called me Madame Su. No one searched for Aurora anymore. She had changed too much, even helping me with small tasks. One evening, after the workers went home, she stood by the window and called softly, "Sister Claire." Once, she'd been wild and arrogant, threatening to have her brother kill me. Now, she just smiled. Business thrived. Aurora and I decided to move to a larger house. I redeemed her golden hairpin and returned it to her. We repaid the governor's loan and even traveled back to Dingyuan once, but the jade pendant was gone. That autumn, I planned a business trip to Zhangzhou. After some hesitation, I took Aurora with me. I couldn't bear to leave her behind. Traveling by boat was safer than the roads, or so I thought. A few days out to sea, pirates struck. We were hopelessly outnumbered. Our ship sank. They dragged us onto their vessel. I tried to negotiate, offering money, but the pirate chief grabbed my chin. Not a bad haul, 2 beauties and a handful of pretty girls. No profit in the world could rival beauty. Aurora scoffed, "You're not worthy." His face twisted. I threw myself between them. "Don't touch her." "Fine," he sneered. "I'll touch you." His hand reached for my clothes, then an arrow whistled through the air and pierced his throat. He fell. Chaos erupted. Someone fought their way aboard and freed us. Later, on the rescuer's ship, Aurora, still shaken, mumbled, "Next time, don't stand in front of me. I didn't need you to." I smiled faintly and let her be. Curious, I asked a sailor, "Who was that archer who saved us?" She hesitated. "Our young master. It wasn't until the night before we reached Jiangzhou that I saw him. I couldn't sleep, so I walked the deck. He stood at the bow, robes stirring in the wind, posture calm yet commanding, a quiet violence beneath the surface. Something in him felt achingly familiar. I almost spoke his name, but before I could, he was gone. When I stepped through the door, Princess Aurora threw herself into my arms. Tears shimmered in her eyes. "They didn't mistreat you in there, did they? If they did, tell me. I'll get justice for you." Now that someone stood behind her, she could say such things with newfound confidence. I patted her shoulder. "I'm fine, silly girl." A low laugh came from behind me. Someone stood with hands clasped behind his back, gaze steady on me. "Miss Shu?" Aurora stopped crying at once and stood meekly to the side. No one had called me that in a very long time. I looked up. "Your Highness." Prince Leon Shen had survived siege and exile. The innocence of youth was long gone. His face was calm, unreadable. Power gathered like stormlight around him. His one deepest worry was his little sister behind him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have watched over us in secret all this time. That night, I still shared a bed with Aurora. She pressed her lips close to my ear and whispered, "Sister Claire, my brother is alive. I'm so happy." "And you? Are you happy?" Hope threaded through her voice. With the blanket up to my chin, I left my face in the cool air and recalled the glimpse I'd had of him. If His Highness lives, he can restore the rightful line and purge the court. Of course I'm happy. For 2 years the Son of Heaven had been cruel. The land was never at peace. People drifted and suffered, like my brother and me once did. Only Aurora, under Alan's care, had been spared much hardship. Soon, this flawless jade would likely be returned to its rightful owner. Aurora clicked her tongue, clearly unhappy with my answer. But she was too tired to argue. She fell asleep before she could ask more. The 5th prince came swiftly and left swiftly. At dawn he went alone. He left only a note for me. His hand was elegant, the strokes sharp. "Missu, Aurora reads much better now. Thank you. With you watching over her, my heart is at ease." Just 2 lines. He didn't take Aurora with him. He left her by my side. A gust of wind lifted scraps of burned paper on the floor. The handwriting matched the note in my hand. I could make out only 1 line on the charred piece. "Do you blame me for avoiding you the last 2 times?" On the 25th day of the 12th month, Alan hurried home. He looked as usual and asked after me and Aurora, as if he knew nothing about the prince. Aurora didn't seem upset that her brother hadn't taken her away either. After we ate, I drew Alan aside. "When did you find out?" He didn't hide it. "Before I joined the army." I sucked in a breath. That explained everything. He had planned to guard us here for life. Why had he suddenly sought rank and merit? It was all to clear a path for the 5th prince. When we finished talking and stepped outside, we found the courtyard piled with gifts. Aurora explained, "My brother sent them." Alan and I exchanged a look and accepted them gladly. On New Year's Eve, I hired the best cook in town and prepared a fine meal. Halfway through, someone knocked. Aurora thought it was the 5th prince and stood up happily. But when she opened the door, it was Ethan Fang, smiling broadly. He carried so many parcels his hands could barely hold them. Aurora sat down again, disappointed. Ethan and Alan were closer than ever. He took the empty seat between us without fuss. He ventured, "Sister Claire, if I earn some real merit, may I come visit you often?" Alan no longer bristled as he once had. He watched me with a gentle smile. I was about to answer when another knock sounded. Aurora refused to get up again. I leapt to my feet, relieved, and opened the door. In the moonlight, a tall figure stood like a pine. Dark eyes met mine. He smiled and lifted a brow. "Happy New Year." Ethan came over. "Oh, and this is?" Aurora, who already disliked him, snapped on purpose. "My brother." Ethan understood at once. Aurora's brother was also my prince. He laughed and bowed. "So you're the elder brother. Please sit." Alan rose and saluted the 5th prince in silence. The prince's gaze moved between us. "It seems I've intruded. What were you discussing? May I hear it?" Ethan flushed. I said I want to visit Sister Claire often." The prince glanced at me. For some reason his face went cold. "Oh?" Pins and needles pricked under my skin. Still, that New Year's was the liveliest we'd had in 2 years. Aurora, for once, drank quite a lot. Tipsy and laughing, she hugged me over and over, At last she told her brother, "Many people like our sister Claire." Prince Leon gave a soft laugh and turned to look at me. His eyes were bright as stars. I know, he knew, how could he know? Soon after, the fifth prince left again. It was as if he'd blown through like a migrating bird. Alan returned to the army. Before leaving, Ethan insisted on giving me a scented sachet. It was poorly embroidered but clearly made with care. I refused it, but handed him a peace amulet I'd requested at the temple a few days earlier. I wished him a swift return. I wished him safety. Nothing more. He grinned again and waved. "I'm off," I nodded, then bowed with clasped hands. Safe travels, young General Fang. Alan had told me everything. In the past half-year, Ethan had shed his old idle ways. He risked his life and rushed to the front in every battle. One day he would be a true general. He smiled too, sunlight on his shoulders as he walked away with an easy, unburdened stride. Really going now? I kept teaching Aurora. She grew more diligent. The switch gathered dust. Madame Jiang began to fret about my marriage. More than once, she scolded me. "Your brother is careless. You'll be 19 after the new year. Why hasn't he found you a good match?" I twirled the needle between my fingers, pretending not to care. "I'm not in a hurry." She didn't believe me and secretly introduced several young men. In the end, the governor heard about it and paid her a visit. I don't know what he said. After that, Madame Jiang stopped meddling. She even teased me. "With such a fine gentleman waiting for you, why didn't you tell me earlier?" I blinked. "Huh?" She smiled knowingly. "No need to say it. I understand." When Aurora heard, she laughed so hard her stomach hurt. Then she said, "My brother came to see me yesterday. His guard said they stopped by the governor's mansion before that. Sister Claire, isn't it strange? The moment my brother leaves, the governor goes to talk to Madame Jiang." I was even more confused, but marriage had felt far away ever since that night we fled Chandan. After this, the fifth prince visited us more often. I understood. Things were going well for him. He no longer needed to hide. He was poised and striking. Each time he came, our neighbors would ask me, "Is that your betrothed?" I shook my head. "No." At last, I went to see the prince. He waited patiently while I gathered my courage. Finally, I said, "Everything goes well for you now. If you take Aurora with you, it would be fine. If she stays here, you'll keep worrying and spend time visiting. Better to bring her back, and the two of you can be together." He was silent for a moment, then said, "Miss Shu." I looked up. "Yes?" "How do you know the only person tying me to this place is my sister?" "Here, how do you know?" "Only my sister?" My eyes widened. For a heartbeat, I forgot how to breathe. A moment later, I glanced, overly casual, at the willows budding in the distance. "Well, the scenery here is lovely. Aurora is quite fine here too." His laughter rose warm from his chest, his eyes on me. "Yes," he said. "Before long, the court sent troops against the fifth prince. They called it destroying a traitor of the former dynasty. At first, the fanfare was grand, but soon rumors spread. The lands under the fifth prince were well governed. Good harvests, safe roads, people at peace. Some came to see in secret, and found it true. Those with families and livelihoods do not fear poverty so much as injustice. People longed for the rightful ruler. One by one, they turned to the fifth prince. Alan persuaded several generals in the army. Not long after, 50,000 soldiers in the southern command pledged themselves to the prince. For the next half-year, Alan fought ceaselessly at the front. Yongjia was a hub, prosperous and open on all sides. It still tasted war. Duke Rowanzhou sent raiders to attack by night, throwing the city into chaos. I was at the embroidery house when it happened. Aurora had the prince's men guarding her, so I wasn't too worried. I hid my workers in a back storeroom, secluded and unknown. At dawn, within half an hour, the shouting outside fell silent. Voices rose in relief. "Long live the fifth prince." My eyes burned. I pushed the door open and stepped out. My legs had been cramped too long. They went weak beneath me. A hand steadied me at the waist. A low voice said, "Careful." I looked up. Prince Leon Shen. He wore armor and carried a sword. His eyes were hard as steel and still somehow gentle. I lowered my gaze. "Thank you, Your Highness." "Aurora, she's safe," he said softly. Only then did my heart truly settle. Looking at the banners with the character Shen snapping in the wind, I suddenly understood why he'd sent us to Yongjia in the first place. After this battle, the fifth prince's army surged forward. The new regime had always been shaky. Soon he stood with his forces beneath the walls of Chang'an. At the same time, news came from the governor's mansion. Ethan Fang had fallen. Alan sent the body home with his own men. The governor had long since pledged himself to the fifth prince. Ethan had not gone to war for petty merit. He had gone to help raise a dragon. Young and ardent, he knew whom he served and what he must do. He died never knowing that one New Year's Eve, he had shared wine with the very man he served with all his heart, and called him brother. I went to the governor's to burn incense for him. I bowed 3 times and wept. The governor handed me a peace amulet. He said Ethan had clutched it until his last breath. Many tried to pry his fingers open, none could. Only when the governor weeping told him, "Aye, you're home," did his hand finally loosen. My amulet had not kept him safe after all. But the world was not just, and kings were not kind. Men like him died every day. Some on the battlefield, some of hunger, some under the lash. 3 years ago, when rebels surrounded the capital, tens of thousands died. Afterward, tyranny killed countless helpless commoners. I could only pray that the new sovereign would bring a different sky. I closed the embroidery house for a while. Each day, Princess Aurora and I waited for letters from Chang'an. Alan wrote to me often. At the end of every letter, he added the same line, "Give my regards to the princess." But I could see Aurora's mind had wandered elsewhere. The fifth prince had sent a guard to protect her. The young heir of the Marquis of Loyal Valor, Adrian Howe. Years ago, the Marquis's household was slaughtered by rebels. The young lord had faked his death and followed the fifth prince through 3 hard years. Now he had come to guard the prince's little sister. My brother, however, put on armor and left his princess to fight. Sometimes fate plays cruel games. Aurora had never been shy, never quick to blush. But with this young marquis, her cheeks turned red every time. A girl's heart, plain to see. Oh, right. Aurora was 15 now, of age to marry. Chang'an fell into chaos. Pressed too hard, Duke Rowanzhou snapped. Like a cornered rat, he used commoners as bait to trap and kill the fifth prince. By the time I heard, more than 10 days had passed. A storyteller in the tea house rapped his wooden clapper, eyes shining. Thanks to the fifth prince's valor. One man, holding a pass against 10,000, he saw through the traitor's plot and saved the innocent. "That," he cried, "is the blood of a true dragon." The hall erupted. Right. If not for the siege 3 years ago, the fifth prince would already be the rightful ruler. How could that villain still run wild? Aurora's eyes gleamed. Joy dampened her palm as she gripped my hand. I knew my brother was incredible. Yes, he was. Along the way he pacified prefectures, held Wen City, won hearts, and turned the tide of a broken realm. Who wouldn't praise his courage? Chapter 3. In the winter of Xianwu, Year 3, Prince Leon Shen overthrew the tyrants, founded a new dynasty, and took the reign title, Zhenwan. When the new emperor ascended, he issued a general amnesty. The governor was promoted. Ethan Fang was posthumously named Grand General of Ningyuan. All who had followed the new emperor were rewarded. My brother was made a general. The former guard at the prince's side finally had room to spread his wings. When the dust settled, the neighbors learned who Aurora really was. Crowds flooded our little courtyard. With no space at home, I went to Madame Zhang to ask about new stitching techniques. She looked at me and asked instead, "What's this? Not worried about your sister anymore?" "She's fine," I said. "She has someone to protect her now." Madame Zhang smiled. Slow-witted me. "Last year the governor said your match would come from a great house in Chang'an. I thought, well, I didn't expect this." My hands slipped. My stitches went crooked. I set the hoop down. "No, there's nothing like that." She teased me twice more before letting it go. Aurora was going back to Chang'an. A ceremonial carriage had crossed mountains and rivers to bring the princess of the realm home. I walked her to the gate. She asked, "Your brother is in Chang'an now? Won't you come with me?" I froze, then realized she didn't mean the former fifth prince, the new emperor now. She meant Alan. I shook my head. "I have the embroidery house. The girls are counting on me. Even if I go, it won't be now." She burst into tears. Her makeup smudged, a flash of the pampered girl I first met. "What about me? Do you think I'm made of stone, that I can just leave you?" I laughed softly and hugged her. "This isn't leaving. You might not remember, when we fled Chang'an I carried you. You were heavy and I cried to my brother that I didn't want to take you. If he hadn't insisted, who knows when I might have dropped you on the road. She stared, teeth clenched, not calling me sister for once. You wouldn't dare. Then she turned and climbed into the carriage, anger in her back. I sighed and started toward the house, when someone grabbed my sleeve. I turned. Aurora had jumped back down and run to me, lips pressed tight, breath unsteady. Then pay me back, she said. Come to Chang'an with me. Be my sister-in-law. The young marquise beside her snorted a laugh and tugged her arm. Aurora, don't joke. Come on, the sun is setting. A princess's sister-in-law would be empress one day. Not a promise she could make with a few words. I urged her gently. Go, Aurora. His Majesty is waiting. Silk shimmered on her shoulders. The golden hairpin in her hair swayed, surely the very pin we had once pawned and later redeemed. I lifted my skirt, knelt, and bowed in her direction, respectfully sending off Princess Aurora. Voices rose through the lane, one after another, bidding her farewell. So this was the weight of the imperial house. In the spring of Zhenyuan Year 1, Aurora left me and returned to her homeland. With the realm newly settled, Alan was busy. He visited me once, then left again. 3 months later, he came to my door. Suddenly, I was alone. Aurora sent a letter every 2 days. Each one urged me to come to Chang'an. At first, she wrote sister, then she started writing sister-in-law. If you don't come soon, my brother will marry someone else. Aurora misses you, sister-in-law. So when her next letter arrived, I only sighed, smiled helplessly, and opened it. On the 3rd sheet, the handwriting changed, bold strokes that bit into the paper. Why haven't you come? Is the road too long, or do you fear your emperor? For a moment I could almost see the man smiling in mockery through the page. I stuffed the letter away, too flustered to go on. My face burned. In April, when spring was at its finest, Alan returned to Yongja. He brought a letter from Aurora. His expression was low as he handed it to me. He smoothed my hair and sighed. Claire, you've borne so much. I looked up at him. He was tall. His eyes held apology. The 5th prince had schemed and struggled for Aurora for years. And the man before me, he was my brother too. We had never truly been apart since childhood. There had been a brief rift, but blood runs thicker than water. How could I blame him? In this world, who doesn't suffer? I rose on my toes and patted the dust from his shoulder, the weariness, the worry. With you here, I've never felt it was hard. He smiled, though the crease between his brows didn't ease. I opened the letter. As I expected, Aurora was to be married. The young lord had inherited his father's title. He was now Marquis of Loyal Valor, a match worthy of a princess. Her letter was earnest and warm. Sister Claire, by lamplight 2 years ago, you taught me again and again. I was stubborn and remembered nothing. Today, pen in hand, the lines you taught returned to me, every word true. When shall we trim the candle by the west window and talk of the night rain in Bashan? When will you come to Chang'an and cut the red double happiness window flowers for my wedding? Tears thickened my voice. Brother, I'll go with you to congratulate Aurora. He nodded. Good. I took the road again. Before, I had been ragged. Now, a pair of shoes would never stop me. I wondered whether months ago, when Aurora rode alone back to the capital, she felt lonely. I knew she had felt lonely when she walked the road with us years before. The closer we drew to Chang'an, the more my heart cramped with homesick dread. Alan teased me. Aren't you fearless now? I huffed, and for once, acted like a girl. I am not. Then he remembered something and asked, testing me, His Majesty cares for you. He's asked me many times in his letters. My heart clenched. I said nothing. He chuckled. When he entrusted Aurora to me back then, he said one more thing. Want to know what it was? The coach rolled on. Wind lifted the curtain in my sleeve. I pressed my lips together. What? He flicked the reins. He said, his luck was poor. He had planned to propose to the Shu family. The betrothal gifts were already half prepared. Sadly, they must all be gone by now. When we reached Chang'an, Alan and I moved back into the old residence. At dusk, Aurora arrived in a rush. Months of silk and ceremony had made her even lovelier. Like old times, we shared a bed. By midnight, she had rolled and pushed me off again. I nudged her awake. Aurora, you finally broke that habit. Don't start again. She only laughed, then flung herself into my arms. Sister Claire, I won't do it next time. Next time. She was getting married. How could there be a next time? The next day, on her way back to the palace, she said suddenly, Meet me at Kongping Bridge tonight. I'll wait for you. It came out of nowhere. Still, I went. I didn't want her waiting. The bridge was crowded. People told me it was Qiqiao Festival, a night of lanterns and lovers. As I stepped onto the bridge, someone tugged my sleeve from behind. I thought Aurora will never stop pulling at sleeves. I turned, a man's face fine as carved jade. At his waist hung a jade pendant, clear and flawless. He had worn it for 17 years, never parting from it, until one mid-autumn night when he gave it to a little girl. He smiled softly, Miss Shu. He lost a kingdom. I lost my heart. And under the same moon that once watched our ruin, we found both again. Because some loves don't fade with time. They wait until the world is quiet enough to remember.